The B-2 Spirit bomber carrying the 30, 0-pound GBU-57B Massive Ordnance Penetrator bunker buster bomb is widely viewed as the only conventional option available to target buried enemy bunker enrichment facilities. Hegseth and Caine confirmed that U.S. Air Force B-2 Spirit Street Elf bombers dropped 14 30,000-pound GBU-57B Massive Ordnance Penetrator MOP bombs. A total of 125 aircraft, including B-2, supported the air component of the operation. We also do not know if the group of B-2 apparently being sent over the Pacific could arrive in Middle East. It is entirely possible that this is a ruse to provide cover for the actual strike force. We are investigating the timing and will report more when we can answer this question with more certainty. While the B-52 currently stationed at Diego Garcia could drop GBU-57 MOP, as they did in early testing, that is not a known operational capability for the type. Furthermore, using such assets would be far riskier than B-2 due to their lack of stealth capabilities. However, this is possible depending on the state of air defenses, particularly in the eastern part of the country where Israeli operations are much lower, and what other assets could assist in the strike. It's likely that another group of B-2 was sent east, using the already deployed tanker bridge to carry out the strike stealthily. They could also have been moved in the days before, covertly, to bases closer to Iran. Even the B-2 shelters on Diego Garcia could have housed 4 B-2. The UK is also a well-established B-2 operating base, but they could also have moved elsewhere. The B-2 community has been working to hone its forward operating capabilities in recent years. DARE flight tracking data, along with publicly available air traffic control audio, show at least 2 separate flights of B-2 bombers using the call signs MIT-11 and MIT-21 departing from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri overnight, supported by a large number of aerial refueling tankers. Whiteman is the primary operating base for the Air Force's entire fleet of 19 B-2. The stealth bombers headed west and were later joined by additional tankers off the coast of California. It is worth emphasizing here that there is no clear indication at this time that the B-2 are actively engaged in strikes, even though they have the capability to do so without a forward base. The fact that the B-2 refueled immediately after takeoff could indicate that they at least had MOP on board, as the weight of the weapons would require some fuel to be sacrificed for departure. Having the B-2 Spirit deployed even on Guam would still reduce the time to sorties, which in turn would help the turnaround time for follow-on missions. Each stealth bomber can only carry 2 GBU-57B at a time, and multiple MOPs would be needed to neutralize Fordo as part of a sustained campaign. It is also important to note that the B-2 would conduct any strikes against an enemy as part of a larger force package that would include supporting assets to help protect the bombers from anti-air threats, as well as conduct post-strike damage assessments. Combat search and rescue forces would also be part of the equation. The B-2 is already very capable of survivability and air defense capabilities. As of at least the 19th of June, 4 B-52 bombers, as well as 6 F-15E Strike Eagles, remained deployed to Diego Garcia after arriving there at various points in May. TWZ was the first to report the F-15E deployment, which was explicitly there for force protection purposes. Satellite imagery has also consistently shown tankers, cargo planes, and other support aircraft at the strategic island outpost in recent months. The U.S. military also recently moved air assets from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, some of which appear to have been relocated to Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. American naval ships in Bahrain have also been seen at sea. These moves would help reduce the exposure of opposing forces to potential combat. All of this comes amid what the U.S. military has openly acknowledged as a major buildup of forces in the Middle East, as well as Europe. Officials agree that the recent deployments, which include both Air Force and naval assets, are focused on protection. However, these forces are now also inherently better positioned to support offensive operations against the enemy if the decision is made to do so. Once on the ground, The B-2 joins escort and support aircraft in a complex, precisely timed maneuver that requires precise synchronization across multiple platforms in tight airspace, all with minimal communications. This type of integration is something our joint force does better than anyone else in the world, Caine continued. As B-2 operations continue in Europe, this historic refueling highlights the U.S. and Norwegian partnership and the U.S. Air Force's ability to collaborate with allies and partner nations to address global challenges.